What's up, Skins Nation? Welcome once again to that show of shows, Pigskin Facts, History, and News. I am your host of hosts, Fred Watson Jr. If this is your first time watching, welcome and hit that red button at the bottom, that subscribe button. Those of you that have been watching, that have been faithful, much love to you, Skins Nation. And here we are, week number 6 in the NFL, and we find the Redskins 0-5, and their opponent is 0-4. Miami Dolphins. They're coming off a bye week, and many have dubbed this game the Toilet Bowl, for whatever reason. But both teams this year have had nightmare seasons thus far. They're respectively ranked 31 and 32nd in the NFL out of 32 teams. Before we get started, if you have any comments, if you have any thoughts about the game or about how the season's gone or anything you want to talk about, feel free, scroll down to the bottom of the comment section. I would love to hear from you, and we'll just go from there. Going to make it a little shorter today, pretty much just going to do a few facts, a little bit of history sprinkled in, and we're going to do an injury report and talk about the recent news and some changes that have been made. So, with that said, the Miami Dolphins, they lead the season series. They lead the series, not the season series, excuse me. The Miami Dolphins lead the overall series in games played against the Redskins 9-5. The last meeting was 4 years ago, 2015, at FedEx Field. The Dolphins won that game 17-10, and the difference in that game was a 69-yard punt return by Jarvis Landry, who is now with the Cleveland Browns. Okay, the Dolphins have won the last two matchups, 2 out of 3 matchups against the Redskins dating back to 2003. They are tied 1-1 in the postseason. Of course, the 1972 Miami Dolphins won Super Bowl 7, 14-7, and they completed the NFL's first and only undefeated season. Only team that came close to that was the 2007 New England Patriots. They were 18-0, but they lost the Super Bowl to the New York Giants, ruining their undefeated season and a chance to snap the mark made by the 72 Dolphins. 10 years later, the Redskins avenge that Super Bowl loss in Super Bowl 7. It was 1982, Super Bowl 17, where the Redskins were pitted once again against the Miami Dolphins, and they won that Super Bowl 27-17. And the pivotal play of that game was in the fourth quarter. The Redskins were trailing about 8 minutes left in the game. They were at their own 43-yard line. They were facing a 4th down and 1 situation. Joe Gibbs handed off to John Riggins, who ran a sweep to the left, broke the tackle of cornerback Don McMill. He broke free. Riggo, the Diesel, broke free, and he chug-a-lugged down the sidelines for a 67-yard touchdown run. And that put the Redskins on top, broke the game open, and the Redskins added another touchdown for insurance, winning the Super Bowl 17, 27-17. Okay, we're going to take a look at the Redskins-Dolphins injury report. The Dolphins had 11 players that are listed as questionable, so they've had a week to rest, being banged up. They had 11 players that were questionable for the game, for this upcoming game Sunday. Running back Kalen Ballage has a foot injury. Guard tackle Jesse Davis with an elbow. Safety Bobby McCain dealing with a hamstring shoulder injury. Wide receiver Albert Wilson, calf hip. Cornerback Jamal Wilkes dealing with a groin injury. Cornerback Johnson Batamosi, ankle. Wide receiver Jakeem Grant, hamstring. Linebacker Trent Harris, a foot, dealing with a foot injury. Cornerback Xavier Howard, dealing with a knee. Safety Rashad Jones, dealing with an ankle. And cornerback Chris Lamons has a toe injury. These are all questionable for Sunday's game against the Redskins. The Redskins have 5 players out, except for one that's questionable, tackle Donald Penn, dealing with a hamstring. He's questionable for the game. Of course, tight ends Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis are both out with concussions. Linebacker Josh Harvey Clemens, dealing with a hamstring. Guard Wes Martin, dealing with a chest injury. And safety Deshazer Everett, dealing with an ankle injury. So all of those 5, except for Donald Penn, are out for Sunday's game against Miami. Okay. The Redskins offense, 28th overall, 27th rushing, 27th ranked rushing offense. Passing, they're 26th in the league. The Dolphins offense, they're 31st overall on offense. Running the ball, they rank dead last at 32nd. And passing, they're 31st. The Redskins defense is 28th ranked overall. Against the run, they're 28th. Against the pass, they're a little better at 23rd. And the Dolphins defense, they're 32nd, dead last overall. Dead last against the rush, 32nd. And 31st against the pass. And a couple of facts. The Redskins and Dolphins both rank 31st and 32nd in point differential. In the second half, the Redskins have been outscored 73 to 33, whereas the Dolphins have been outscored 81 to nothing in the second half. The Dolphins have scored 2 touchdowns, and they have given up 21. They rank last in red zone offense and defense, and the Dolphins also rank last in turnover differential at -7. Okay. Let's just talk about a couple things here. The Redskins, of course, have been taken over. Of course, you know, Jay Gruden fired. Bill Callahan has been set in place as the interim coach, and he's taken a different approach. He's changed some things up. The first practice was he changed some things up. He had a team meeting on Wednesday morning, I believe it was, and their practices now will be more detail oriented. So Coach Callahan will put them in game time situations and focus on, you know, different scenarios of, you know, maybe 3rd and long that they're dealing with, or the red zone or a red zone offense, you know, different situations that he's going to hone in on, situations that you find in a game that he's going to focus on during some of their practices. Kevin O'Connell, the assistant offensive coordinator, will be handed the keys. He will be taking over the play calling duties for the Redskins, so that ought to be exciting to see. And Bill Callahan wants to focus more on the run. He's more like an old school coach, so he wants to focus more on running the ball down the throats of the opponents and controlling the clock and trying to keep the defense off the field as long as they can. That game Sunday against the Patriots is just horrible. We couldn't stay on the field. I mean, we couldn't hardly get past the 3 and outs. And you know what that means? The more the defense is on the field, the more they're going to get worn out. And the other team can run effectively and do whatever they want at will once the defense gets tired. Excuse me. He also wants to get young players more involved in the offense. And I personally think that Steven Sims, our undrafted rookie out of Kansas, I think he needs to be put at punt returner. No disrespect to Trey Quinn, Mister Irrelevant, but I think who's relevant. But I think that Steven Sims would be a better fit as a punt returner. He's blazing fast, and he's a game breaker for us. I'd definitely like to see him in the offense as well. You know, like a couple weeks ago, we ran with him on a couple of jet sweeps. And I definitely would like to see him more involved in the offense because he's a playmaker for sure. And if he gets in the open field, he's definitely like a home run hitter. He's got the speed to take it all the way to the house. Um, but yeah, get young players involved in the offense, maintain pressure and high quality defensive play like we had in the first half against the Patriots. Um, that was the best half of the year that we played as a defensive unit. And I think if we can find a way to be consistent and continue to play like that the rest of our games for this year, then we have a chance to not only win some ball games, but turn the chapter from the nightmarish first 5 weeks because it's definitely been a nightmare, and we've given up too many big plays. So, you know, it's time to take off the mask because it's been scary, like Halloween, our season, and we need to take off that mask and we need to get real as a team. Now there's some changes now, and that Coach Callahan is making. He's making the players more accountable to each other. Whereas players were showing up 10 to 15 minutes late before, Gruden was not holding players accountable, and the practices were lax, and I mean it was just too much things going on that shouldn't have been going on, and it plays out on the field. And you know, I can honestly say that when they let safety DJ Swearinger go last year, he absolutely said some things that were true that led all the way up until Gruden was fired, that were going on last year, that the practices weren't being taken seriously. And he was right because it translated on the field. And what translated on the field was them not winning games. They were losing games. So I do agree with some of a lot of the things that DJ Swearinger was saying, that they had wanted to get rid of him because he was telling the truth. Those things needed to be said, embarrassing or not embarrassing in public. It needed to be said. It needed to be addressed. So now Bill Callahan's coming in and he's bringing back the old school elements to the game. Like he's going back to hardcore fundamentals in practice. Fundamentals in practice will translate on the field in success. What kind of fundamentals? Tackling, on instance, for defense. Ball security, running backs, holding on to the ball. Blocking correctly. Fundamentals, hardcore fundamentals. Passing the ball, throwing the ball, receivers running the right routes. The quarterback having timing with his receivers. Hardcore, good fundamentals will translate from the practice field to the game field in success and win games. So Coach Callahan has an old school approach to the game. He's also bringing discipline. He's holding the players accountable. They're running more sprints now as far as conditioning is concerned, which I think is smart. So they're running gassers, is what they call them, for better conditioning for his team. He has his team captains just doing simple things like leading team stretches, for instance. Just more accountability all across the board. And I'm not saying, uh, he's the best coach in the world because I haven't really followed him. He did coach the Raiders back in 2002, 2003, and they did have a Super Bowl appearance. But I like his approach. I like the changes that he's coming in and doing now. So and then from the first day of practice, they said that there was a new energy in the building. Adrian Peterson has is definitely hyped up after learning that the Redskins are going to run the ball more. There needs to be more of a consistency of the Redskins running the ball. And they're going to have to improve in that department if they're going to win football games. Defense. The Redskins are going to have to play like they played the New England Patriots in the first half of that game. And they pretty much had shut down Tom Brady for a half. They're going to have to play like that for 4 quarters in every game if they're going to win games. Putting pressure on the quarterback. Getting turnovers. Getting the ball through turnovers to the offense where the offense can convert those turnovers into points quickly and as much as possible to win games and seal it. So basically, they really need to focus on the defense and the running game. And if those two coincide, and if they can fix those two things, and those two things will coincide with each other, the Redskins will win football games. They'll keep other offenses off the field while they dictate the game and control the clock. And that's what we need. Latest news, Redskins signed wide receiver Jester Weah to the practice squad, and they place Jehu Chesson, I believe he's a wide receiver, place him on injured reserve. And also Case Keenum will start at quarterback versus Miami on Sunday. So that ought to be interesting. So this has been a nightmarish season, and the Redskins' luck has been as bad as Friday the 13th. So they're going to need a complete turnaround. And hopefully with the firing of Jay Gruden, which is one of many problems that have been dealt with. There's more problems that need to be dealt with. He wasn't the only problem. Maybe this time right here will prove different as Coach Callahan is coming in and he's implementing different things in the practices. And as far as the philosophy of the offense, where he wants to change it, maybe this right here can lead to, the Redskins kind of, getting a grip back on their season and pointing things in the right direction and winning games. That remains to be seen, but we'll find out Sunday. The Redskins are favored over the Dolphins in this game, not by very much. So we're going to see how that pans. Josh Rosen is the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, I believe, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick was the backup, or maybe that was the other way around. But either way, the Redskins defense says they will be ready for whoever starts Sunday for the Dolphins. So, that remains to be seen. There's been a lot of talk about different coaching candidates of who's going to be the next coach for the Washington Redskins. There were a lot of rumors that were pointing toward Mike Tomlin, coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know if he has any interest in coaching the Redskins. He is from the area. But I think by Tomlin coming in, I think that would really change the culture to a winning culture for this organization. Kevin O'Connell, his name's been mentioned in the conversation. He's the current offensive coordinator for the Redskins. A lot of people would be interested in seeing the keys being handed over to him and seeing what he can do. Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, the guru of the Kansas City Chiefs, the quarterback guru, who you see the work that he's doing with Patrick Mahomes. He's a candidate. Offensive coordinator John DeFilippo from the Jaguars, another offensive mind, great offensive mind, who's doing a wonderful job with their quarterback Gardner Minshew of the Jaguars. He's having a pretty good season. He's been listed as a candidate. And Rex Ryan, just recently on a television program, he said, hey, I would take the job. There's going to be a lot of people that are lined up for it. So he's another possibility. But he's, I don't know. He's more of a, how do I say it? I don't know, more of the renegade type. So I don't know if his personality would mesh with the owner, Dan Snyder, or then you got Bruce Allen in that office. I don't know how that would work out. Some were saying that Louis Riddick, who's an analyst on ESPN, some would say he would make a good general manager for the Redskins. But I don't know if they're pretty much into recruiting people from a sports network. So I don't know how that would work. Mike Mayock, he's a general manager for the Raiders. He was recruited, but who knows? Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Not too many people are going to be focused on that game. It's not a game of the year. Probably one of the worst, probably be rated the worst game of the year, the worst versus worser. But we'll see how it goes. But like I said, Coach Callahan, he's coming in and he's tweaking some things right now. So who knows? Maybe we might see a different Redskin team on Sunday. Who knows? Both of these teams are vying for a victory. And the team that loses actually doesn't lose. They actually benefit because they will retain or have a hold on the first pick of the NFL draft. And so it's more like you've heard of a win-win situation. This is, I guess, more like a lose-win situation. And the winner is they'll get the second pick, of course. But it'll just be interesting to see the changes that are going on right now at Redskin Park. It'll be interesting to see how that translates on the field. And it'll be interesting to see how the attitude of this coach translates to his team. Because usually a team is going to follow their leader and they're going to take the traits of their leader. And it's going to translate on the football field. It's going to manifest itself. So we're going to see what happens Sunday. And we'll just go from there. But I am excited to see who our next coach is. We probably won't know that till after the season is over. Or who knows? Bill Callahan might coach the Redskins up and they might win a few games. And who knows? He might earn a job. But we'll see. That remains to be seen. So I'm just excited moving forward. And that's all that I have for today. I am your host of hosts for Pigskin Facts, History, and News. Fred Watson Jr. is the name. Skins Nation Sunday. Dolphins is the game. So you guys have a good weekend. Enjoy the game. And I'll catch you on the flip side on Monday. Peace.